it. It's not the right thing. No. Switch. Yeah. What the fuck? Okay. All right. Okay, so it looks like I'm on YouTube. And I'm watching myself, so let me turn the audio off on that. And then we'll also see Mr. Dave Blair live on. So make sure I'm even coming through. There we go. I see that guy. And let's see. Okay. The problem here is on Twitch, it says I'm live. Wait. It seems, oh, maybe it is working. Let me try something. Because yesterday it wasn't working, so I'm trying to get the feel for it again. Where's my pop out unified chat? So we're using Mob Crush, which allows me to do a unified chat. So I'm going to type hello. And that hello that I typed in Mob Crush should update the comments. And wait a minute, I have to, okay, I turned the volume off. All right. Hey, Dave, Caro, and Regine. Dave, I think you posted earlier that you loved that Fanny video. Yeah, that those guys are from 1971. People didn't really, people aren't that aware. They actually, I think they're kind of doing like some kind of reunion or something. They're all in like their 60s now. But they have a website called, I think it's called Fanny's Back, and you could see, you could even get, I might even buy a Fanny t-shirt, because you could get a Fanny t-shirt from back from the old days. So that would be a cool thing to have. And I'm testing to see. So we're just chatting about music, just very casual, and it seems like it's working. So this is partly just a test of making sure my Mob Crush works with the chat and everything, with Twitch and all that fun stuff. Now, I don't see the chat in here, but it does seem to be working. So maybe it was just a glitch yesterday. So if anyone wants to chat about anything in music, I'm just going to be on for a few minutes, because this is really just a test, and I'm kind of hungry. But it seems to be working. Saturday, I'm going to go live with some real music. If you could see behind me, there's a PA, an RC, FPA, and my guitar pedals. If you want to see them, check this out. Behind the scenes of the magic. Let's see. I can't. There's a bit of a delay, so I can't see what the camera. Wait, actually, if I go into OBS, I can see what the camera is seeing. So the camera wire only goes so far, but you can see the guitar pedals there. And if I wish to get closer, because we could chat about pedals, is the Wah Wah RCF RMC, and there's the telly, and there's the bongos, and Saturday there's the drums, but we don't have a drummer because of the lockdown. The drummers are so alone in the corner without a drummer. But we will get Gary down here soon. We'll get Gary to come down and play some drums soon as this lockdown thing is over. But the good news is Wednesday, I'm getting a new sound card. And it's a Radeon Sapphire RX 580. For those of you who are into sound cards. And wait, my head is I'm getting chopped off here. There we go. And with that's not sound card, video card. As you notice, this video is like an old Logitech from a few years back. It can do 1080p, but the card in the computer is the original Mac Pro 2000, mid 2010 card. The rest of the computer has been upgraded with SSD. It got like 8 cores. It's pretty fast, actually. I do editing in Final Cut Pro, but that video card is what's messing up my ability to really stream without the delay. I got OBS set up. I got Bob Crush so I could do the consolidated chat over Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook simultaneously. And I got the whole recording studio set up, so this mic is going through a good recording quality setup there. And I got the band set up, so what I'll probably try to, my goal for this Saturday is just get that video card in so that I could either take this cam and I could go fully at 1080p, because right now it's downgraded because the card can't handle it. Or I may even be able to hook up the Sony a6500 to do really nice quality video. And then for starters, because since it's just me, I'll just probably have a really good mic. I have a Perlman TM1, and I have a couple of Shure, what is that? Shure microphones. They're like a $500 microphone. Either one would blow away the phone microphone that I've been using for my live casts. And interesting. So the Twitch feed kind of. Oh, okay, it's back again. So that microphone, or maybe I'll even do. Well, yeah, I think just one really good microphone out here. Basically, like instead of this, which is a live mic, I have the PA in the room just blasting out, just like if it was a real gig, and a mic in the room recording that. And that should still be a significant improvement audio quality than going over the iPad or the phone microphone. Even though on the microphone I use that little. Can you see? Let me show you. So we got nice. The tripod's really good. This is what is this? This is a E-Image GA752 tripod. It's a killer tripod. It's got the I forget the term. I haven't been doing video for a while, but it's even got the fancy arm and everything, and you could pan it, and it's really cool. But I have this microphone here. It's a copy of the Rode. It's Movo. It's a little less clear than the Rode Micro Pro, or whatever. I think it's a Mini Pro mic. But it has more low end, and since if I do record stuff with that, I can always EQ it after the fact. And I'd rather have something, for me, I'd rather have something that gives, it's a little more low end to work with, and I can always clean up the muddy with EQing it later, versus something that's just missing the bottom end. And I thought the Rode just was missing some of the bottom end. Anyway, what was I saying? I don't remember. So yeah, that's the goal. So Saturday, probably 9:30, maybe 10. Once I get it nailed down, I'll do a regular like clockwork thing so people know. And maybe I'll add another day during the week, and it'll just be music, me singing, and maybe doing some storytelling about the songs. Probably do like 4 originals and maybe 8 covers. Some Red Hot Chili Peppers and Johnny Cash, and we mix it up like crazy. Like I did Skinnerd, and I did Young MC raps. Maybe we do some Pitbull or something. I mean, anything crazy. People request all sorts of stuff. Most people that like me like classic rock stuff, from Red Hot Chili Peppers to Van Halen and stuff. But I don't know, my music is a little bit of a eclectic mix of everything. P-Funk, Van Halen, whatever. A lot of people compare me to Steely Dan and Zappa, which makes perfect sense because I'm really into Steely Dan and Zappa, but I never really got into, I never thought my stuff sounded like that, but I guess just through osmosis of listening to that stuff all my life, it just comes out in the writing. Hey, Steve. Hey, Jim. It'd be nice, I haven't seen Jim in person for a while. He came to a gig not that long ago, and he really liked the Purple Rain. I did the Purple Rain on my live stream on Saturday, so if you want to go on Facebook and check it out, it came out, pretty good, and I'll probably maybe do a little clip of it and EQ it a little better and post it probably this weekend when I get the new video card, because then I should be able to do the editing in Final Cut Pro much better. So that is the goal. Microphone going through Pacifica, compressor in the room, and then once we get that down, eventually, if you guys have seen the live Red Flags video that I did with the trio, that is like 4 mics on the drums, 2 overheads, a kick, and a snare, a mic on the guitar amp. The bass was going direct into an A Designs ready. Shout out to A Designs, Peter Montesi, friend of mine. A Designs in LA make some of the best gear. The EQs, the compressors, the DIs, everything they do just is head and shoulders. I went to AES and I'm all listening to this stuff, and I know Peter for years, good guy, and he's like, "Hey Dave, what's up?" And I was trying his EQs, and it was like, wow, this stuff is just on another level. It's just, right up there with your Neves and all Dakings and all that stuff. I have an A Designs Pacifica. I have an A Designs Ready Direct Box, which I use for the bass on all the records. Anyway, so if you need studio gear, talk to me about A Designs. What was I saying? And then a mic for the vocal, and so at the end of the day, eventually we'll want to live stream from the studio with all the mics, like a live recording session mixed into Logic, and then but live, so it's not going to be mixed perfectly, because when you mix a record, you could spend a couple of hours just EQing every little thing and changing the levels for the solo. But we'll get a decent level, like it was a live show, but streamed, like live from the garden, like clear, not a phone in the audience that's listening to the PA. And that's going to be interesting. That'll be a nice goal to have. And once we have that set up, once the pandemic thing is settled down a little bit, maybe we do once a month live from the studio, full set with the full band. That'll be really, really cool. And then what we would do with that is, after that's done, I'd probably mix the recording for real and put it out as clips, or maybe a live record, or free, or maybe some kind of special just for subscribers to my mailing list. Something, that only, people who are good enough to subscribe to the mailing list, get them to, give them free content, like free live record or something like that. I don't know. We'll figure that out. Like sometimes I get ahead of myself, and then it's just about, hey, let's do the next thing. So, wow, I got a lot of people joining. This is just chatting about music. Saturday we're going to do a live stream, and I'm actually going to perform about an hour. Bunch of originals, bunch of covers. So last Saturday, 9:30, I think I actually went on about 10. Went on late. Nothing has changed. When we were gigging with Lip Service, we went on late. Probably more often than I'd like, but it happens. By the time you set up the PA and some monitor's not working, stuff happens. But anyway, that's crazy. Even when I'm live streaming from my own house, I go on late. Musicians, we're flaky. But no, it's sometimes it's a lot of setup and stuff, and sometimes it's a thing you gotta. Once I get us into a mode, we'll be on time. But the originals that we did were Red Flags, Gonna Do, and Sun in the Rain, and I got 2 more What Would You Do, which is a ballad that people, even to this day, came out in 2010. People are like, oh, I love that ballad. What Would You Do? If you want to check it out, go on. You could hear it on Spotify, or you could buy the record, which is here somewhere. Actually, instead of doing this, let's get fancy. This is like a professional TV show here. Check this out. I learned how to do this in OBS. Check this out. Blam! Now you could see the album cover, JPEG. This is like a professional NBC TV show, right? High production value here. This is not some iPad cam deal. And then eventually I'll have the Sony A6500 camera, and I can do stuff. We'll do some cool stuff. Check out the banner at the bottom. I had that banner from a few years ago, so I did a interview on a vlog, the Music Pulse, which is a cool music show where he interviews different artists. And he said, to be on your show, we need a banner for you. So he gave me his art guy, and he created a nice banner for me. And I was like, wow, this would be cool for the OBS to put on the streams. So you got that at the bottom, and it has the Dave Blair music. It looks pretty cool. It looks almost like professional and shit. Anyway, anybody wants to chime in and ask questions? Hey, handsome. Valeria is like, hey, handsome. I don't know how handsome I look today. I'm on my random pandemic. See, I'm working during the day. I'm working from home, doing phone calls with business and doing software, database and SQL stuff, fun stuff. And we were on a call the other day, and they were like, "Oh, we want everybody put your camera on." I'm like, "Oh shit." I had to make. I just threw a hat on, and luckily I wasn't in pajamas or anything. But everybody's in like sweats and stuff these days. Hey Ralph, hey Joe. Well, here's the thing. Maybe I should be doing music. I didn't plan on doing any music right now, and I don't have anything prepared or set up or anything. But it seems like I'm getting as many people on here as I do on the Saturday live stream. So maybe I should do a Monday music live stream. But we're just chatting about music. If you have any requests for the Saturday, I'm just basically every week trying to get it a little better so we get a nice, consistent Saturday live stream, and maybe we'll even do like. Somebody was suggesting you could do Twitch like 3 to 4 hours a day, 3 or 4 days a week. That seems like a little bit much, but let's start with one. I'm also live streaming on Twitch right now, and I see some people on there. Cool. And if you want to talk about music, about anything, or else I'll just, chat a little bit more about some things that I was thinking about music-wise. I just learned about Twitch probably a couple of weeks ago, and now it's a really cool platform. I was on there, and there's music on there. There's people just chatting about everything, different subjects. It's really cool. So actually, let me turn the. I think I was getting an echo because my speakers are on just a little bit. Yeah. Oh no! Watch. If I turn this up, it's an echo. No. So I'm learning about Twitch. So right now I've been spending a lot of time. I learned how to use OBS software, which is what syncs your video, syncs your camera, you do all these layers, like you see the Dave Blair thing at the bottom, and I could switch multiple cameras, and it's a little choppy because I need the new sound card, which is coming Wednesday. But I'm learning this. Hey, there's people chatting in my live stream, but some of it's in different languages, and I'm not. Yeah. Interesting. I don't understand what there's. Oh wait, how'd that happen? Wait a minute. I'm looking at Twitch. Somehow I was watching the Twitch that I was going, and people were chatting in a different language, but I somehow got out of my Twitch into somebody else's. I don't know why. I'm still learning it. I'm just glad. Look, it's working. I'm on Twitch. I've arrived. I didn't even know what Twitch. I mean, I've been hearing about Twitch for months. Like it's this thing, And then I realized it's something that I should be doing because there's musicians on there doing some really cool stuff. And then I was like, wait a minute, I'm not going to live stream on Facebook and then live stream on YouTube and then live stream on Twitch. That's going to be on my whole day. So now I found this software called Mob Crush that allows you to multiple stream, or what do they call it? Simulcast. Just like the baseball game was simulcast back in the day on TV. So I'm on YouTube, Facebook. And so if you're watching me on Facebook, you could go on Twitch now and watch the same thing. You could watch all three at the same time. And if anyone wants to chime in and talk, I'll answer your questions about people. It's weird. When I'm just in life, people are constantly asking me questions about music and the music business and gear and what thing I should buy for my computer or for my guitar. So when you're on here, ask me a question if you want free advice. No charge. So anyway, I'm just learning this thing, but I'm starting to get it kind of works. Like I said, the video card I'll get, and then this will be much faster and clearer. But the audio, you could hear the audio quality is pretty good because I'm going through my recording studio. So I figured out how to get the recording studio audio into the computer, in the sense of a live stream, which was a little bit of work to sync it up with the video using the OBS, Mob Crush, and now into those three platforms. And it's basically working. So I just have to tweak it so that I'm using the video isn't choppy with the sound card, and then take it from there. The next step is another piece of software called Loopback. And what Loopback allows you to do is I could take the sound sources from my recording studio in Logic and run that out through OBS and through the stream. So I could I could either play you back a recording session, or I could be recording a whole band here with 10 microphones and have it all come through the stream, which is really super cool. Because it's not, the weird thing is when you do an OBS or a live stream, I can't just have the computer audio. If I was on a website playing YouTube, it wouldn't come through the stream. You need, but there's software that helps you capture that stuff, and have that come through the stream. Because right now, the only thing coming through the stream is this mic, and to have a source that is YouTube on your computer or your playback of your Logic or Pro Tools, you actually need to do some stuff to connect it. The Loopback software is really good for that. So that's going to be cool eventually. But anyway, the main thing is join the live stream on Saturday about 9:30. I may run late, and we'll do a full set, hour of music, playing guitar, electric guitar, singing. Last Saturday, you could still see the replay on Facebook of last Saturday. Last Saturday was just on Facebook. This Saturday, if I get everything working right, I'll be on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube at the same time, and that'll be pretty cool. That'll be a first. It's funny. I was on a Skype session with there's a few other musicians that do this type of stuff, promoting their original stuff on Facebook, and we meet every Saturday to talk about what we're doing. And we were talking about Twitch, and I was like, we all of us were like, we should get on Twitch. And so I just kind of Googled, how do you get on Twitch? And now I'm on Twitch. Woo! Exciting. Nobody's watching me on Twitch. There's like nobody on it, but they say that's how at first you got to get a little bit of traction going, but then it could be a lot of people interested all at once. Twitch is weird because it's so new. There's a million things out there, but there's only so many things live at any given time, and people are trying to search for stuff that they're looking for. And if they're not looking for gaming, there's a pretty limited amount of things you could, for music. So if you're looking for, right now you're on Twitch and you're looking for a live rock band, you might not even find one, or you'll find one or two. So it's kind of cool. It's just, there's nothing in Twitch right now that allows people to search for rock band. It's just like you kind of have to scroll through, which is kind of silly. They're working on their platform, but it's an up and coming platform. So imagine if you're on Facebook early on or YouTube early on. For entrepreneurs or musicians, getting onto a platform early on could really be cool because a lot of new people will discover you because they're, it's not oversaturated yet. Hey, Bob. Bob's been watching the live streams. Today we're just doing a little chat. Just chatting. If you want to talk music. And I'm just talking about the live stream thing, all the things I'm doing right now to get set up to do really good live streams on Saturday. And of course, you guys know Lip Service, or some of you I know. I saw V on there. I saw Bob. Jim knows Lip Service. So we'll get them down. I was talking to Karina and Cindy about coming down here. Cindy's a little nervous to come down because of the pandemic and everything. Understandable. Karina's already come down to visit a few times, and we're both kind of sheltered in place, and she's like neighbors, so she may come down and sing some stuff in a couple of weeks on the Saturday live stream. Any requests, let us know. So at least you guys could we could still keep pushing out music because we can't go out to the clubs and dancing or anything, but you could watch the music and dance at home. Nobody will judge you. Or just listen or blast it or have fun or whatever. So, the shows are getting better on this Saturday live stream. I'm starting to get the concept together where it's like, okay, I can have the tracks. Originally I was doing the original stuff just like with acoustic guitar, and it doesn't lend, it's fine. I've done acoustic shows, when I was in LA. I couldn't bring a band, so I brought an acoustic guitar and did a few shows out there at, Kulak's Woodshed, and I forget the name of that other place. Did a few shows out there with an acoustic guitar, and that's fun. But my stuff kind of lends itself to lead guitar and a band. So what I did is I took the 2 albums that I have, and I went into the old mixes, in Logic, and was able to kind of pull out the lead vocals and the lead guitar and create a track of my own original stuff without the vocals. So this, now I've been starting to add them, like one or two new ones a week, so we could do an original gig. And the goal with that is I'd like to get to the point where I have a nice full set, maybe 8-9 originals, so that when everything clears up, we could get Donna on bass and Gary on drums and maybe Karina, and maybe Cindy on backup vocals, and do a live show of the original stuff at Arlene's Grocery or the Saint in Asbury Park. Actually, we had something lined up at the Saint with Aster Phoenix. We were Aster Phoenix is another original artist from Jersey that's that was doing like I don't know if you would call it comeback, like what do you call it? The band. I forget the name of the band, but they were kind of reforming and doing a new show at the Saint, and we were talking to her about me, the Dave Blair Band, opening up, doing all original stuff, and that was set for April 11th, and then this whole pandemic thing happened, so it canceled. So I told Aster, like, when you book it again, we'll open up for you. But in a way, it's good because it gives me a chance to get all that original old stuff together and pull together a nice set. Because sometimes you get away from it. You get the cover gigs sometimes 2-3 days a week plus working, and it's like you get away from the original stuff. You get away from writing. You get away from recording. You get away from the gigging with the original stuff. Because for a while, right around between the first and second album, we were doing Arlene's Grocery every couple of months, or the R Bar down in the Village, playing with the original band, and I was playing with the different lineups. But now, like, we did that live video with me and Donna and Gary that you'd see on YouTube of and Facebook of Red Flags, and we did it in like 1, maybe 2 takes. We kind of blew through it once and then recorded it. It was just live, and I think actually I had no idea how it was going to come, but I needed to do something like that, and actually came out, I thought, pretty good considering it was just like bang live, no corrections, no editing, no whatever they do in the studio. It was just live, and when I mixed it, I just obviously mixed the tracks, but I didn't do anything to punch it up or fix anything as far as the performance itself. So that came out pretty good for the first time. We just set up the mics and went, and it came together. Obviously, when you're playing with Gary on drums and Donna on bass, you guys know some of you guys know them. Obviously, if you came to see Lip Service, they just nail the stuff. It makes it easy. I just have to keep up. And Donna's on my original records, and Gary isn't on the original records. That was Ed Klinger, but it's been. I think he's living in Queens now, but he's just super busy, so he hasn't had time to really do much stuff. But he's on the first. He's on the second record. The first record is a lot of drum samples that I did, just because budget wise. Yeah, and I didn't have a studio set up to record drums and everything, so it was a lot of little loopings and samples of drums, because that's all I had. And for the most part, it sounds pretty good. Like, yeah, it was songs like "Sun in the Rain" and "What Would You Do." Those were drum loops. But there were anybody who's into recording. I don't like to do like the MIDI programming drums. I think that just always sounds bad unless you're Depeche Mode or something where you're trying to get that kind of sound. But if you want a like real band sound, they have a thing called drum loops, where it is literally a drummer, usually a famous drummer, a Steve Smith from Journey or whoever, the guy from Guns N' Roses or whatever, playing beats, playing a full measure or two, and playing different fills, and you piece it together. And it really, I mean, it really is like they played the drums. You're limited on the fills and the things that you could use, but at the end of the day, it sounds like that famous drummer played and is recorded in a big studio. So some sound better than others, but at the very least, those are really good for doing demos, because it's a real drummer. You could play to that. You could get a day's demo, give it to your band and say, I wrote this song, here's the groove, and just with my guitar and vocals, and then they could go off and come back into the studio and play their parts. And I usually try to give them a wide berth, as long as the groove is kind of the right kind of groove. I try to say, hey, you're the drummer, I'm not the drummer, you're the bass player, you do your thing. And I'll I usually don't have that much feedback. These, if you have a bass player like Donna playing, you don't really need to, it's going to be funky, it's going to work musically. Maybe one or two things in a song I might say, hey, what about try this here, try that there, just to kind of guide what I'm hearing in my head. For the most part, I'll take what they're giving, and it's probably better than anything I would have come up with on that instrument, because that's just not, go to people for the thing that, I write, I sing, I play guitar, I can produce, but I'm not a bass player, I'm not a drummer, I'm a good mixer, actually, and I'm a pretty good engineer, but the mixing stuff, I gave that off to Ronan Chris Murphy, who is a professional mixer. He's worked with, famous acts, King Crimson, and the Gwar. He did Gwar's last album, a lot of famous people, but he's also done a lot of indie stuff, and his philosophy was really in line with my philosophy as far as mixing. It keeps it very human and real sounding, doesn't like to edit or fix things too much, but he likes to take what you have and make it sound live, and like it jumps out of it works, I think. I forget what my point was, but for mixing, I could mix. I'm a pretty good mixer. People have paid me to mix their stuff, but for my own stuff, you lose a sense of perspective. So I just like to give it to Ronan to mix. Actually, that live Red Flags video that we did with Donna and Gary, and then the live Gonna Do, which we did all in the same session. I talked to Ronan about having him mix it, and he was made it like sound like a record, like Frampton Comes Alive, and like really, but I was in a hurry, so I mixed it myself, and I put it out, and then just people started liking it. Now, like the Red Flags has like hundreds of comments and like 100,000 views. And if you guys know about Facebook, once you put a Facebook post out there, it's locked in. Like all those posts and everything, it's out there in the world, and people are commenting and posting. If I put a new video, that would all be gone, and it would be from scratch again. And there's a certain value in having that whole history of the posts, because it's, people see that, and, it just helps with the promotion of the music. Anyway, but that's a whole nother, I could do a whole nother webcast just on music promotion and Facebook. Fun stuff. But anyway, I got to get lunch or dinner. I had actually, I didn't have lunch till like 3 today because I was so busy at work. But I think this thing is working. I think I see people joining. And actually, let me check Mob Crush Studio and see if my unified chat is working. If I could find the window. Oh, here we go. That's why it helps. Cool. I'm going to respond to the chats and see if it shows up. So I'm in Mob Crush, which is like a consolidation thing. So I'm going live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch at the same time. And ostensibly, this chat window from Mob Crush pulls all the comments from all those things into one window, and I can respond. One thing I think is weird, though, because if someone from Facebook posts, I could respond in Mob Crush, and it'll go back to... wait, is there a way to... No. It shows the so if I respond to the person on Facebook, that response goes to all the platforms, and I can't choose, which is weird. Someone on YouTube is going to be seeing my response to the guy on Facebook and be like, "What are you talking about?" I don't know. I have to Google that, but I'm just learning how to do this. Maybe that's just how you'd think you'd be able to take your comment and just respond, but web stop down to my Saturday 9:30 live stream show. So I just posted that, and I think that should post to all 3 platforms. I'm learning. Yeah, it posted to YouTube, it posted to Facebook. Yeah. And it doesn't give you that much, But the good thing, Mob Crush is free, whereas Restream, I think, has a little more power and a little more flexibility, but it's not free. It's like $16 a month, which doesn't seem like a lot. But when you add up all these little subscription things, it does add up to a lot. I mean, because you got your website, $10, $12 a month, and then you got, whatever, lots of different subscription, ManyChat, Aweber for just to have a mailing list. It's like $15, $20 a month just to keep the mailing list to send out your email, and which I should do more. I'm sending out 1 or 2 emails a month. So I'm going to try to do at least 1 a month that's like, hey, this is what I'm up to. This is what I'm doing. And one thing that's cool, I noticed another thing with this live stream is it's putting what I'm saying, it's putting the words on the bottom. What is that called? I forget what that's called. It's not like when you watch TV, it's in, the TV show might be in Spanish, but it'll have the subtitles. It's not that. It's for deaf people or people that are maybe not just deaf people, but sometimes people are maybe listening to music and just watching what you're saying, or watching it show and watching what you're doing. I'm always multitasking. I'm watching a movie, playing guitar, and on YouTube and on Facebook chat at the same time. But anyway, I gotta get. What time is it? 10 o'clock. So anyway, thanks for all you guys for joining Saturday. Yes, Rich. Closed captions. Closed caption for the hearing impaired. I was like, I went to school with Rich back from the 8th grade. Technology is wild. I have people from like grammar school that are on my, Saturday shows. Rich, you got to come to the show on 9:30. I'm going to be live streaming on Facebook, Twitch, and on YouTube with original songs and cover tunes, and people are doing requests. It was funny. The people that were making requests last week, Rich, you would know them. Like John Baldino made some request, and Frankie Scrow. It's interesting how this technology, people that, from 20, 30 years ago, that if it wasn't for Facebook, we probably would maybe hang out once a year for a beer or something. We're in contact, talking about politics and music and stuff. But I forget what. I think John Baldino requested AC/DC, and I'm like, I'm not gonna sing AC/DC. It's not. I'll sing like Red Hot Chili Peppers, or that's more like my voice. The AC/DC or Axl Rose is not really my. The screaming thing is not really my. No, I don't do it good, and probably if I did it for a song, I wouldn't be able to sing for the rest of the week. I don't know how those guys do that. Although some of those guys at the end of the tour, they wound up needing throat surgery, so that's not the route I'm looking to go. I'm more of a, I don't want to say crooner, but the guys I like are like Jim Morrison and Johnny Cash and Steve Perry, guys who sing notes, not screaming stuff. Well, I do love AC/DC, I gotta say, but more for the guitars. Angus Young. I gotta see. Hopefully, Brian Johnson is gonna be back with AC/DC. I heard he's working with his hearing issues, and because I definitely want to see them once before they stop touring. Because there's certain bands that I just wish I would have seen in their prime. Even Van Halen, I never really got to see in their prime, or I've never got to see them live. And from what I hear now, they're not quite, And I mean, David Lee Roth isn't the same as he was in his prime. Well, I'd still pay to go see them. Sammy Hagar still sounds really good he's like 70 and he still sings his ass off. David Lee Roth never was like in tune live that much, but he was still really fun to watch. And I have live video from like the US Festival with Van Halen, and that's still a fantastic show. But so I would still like to see them. But I have seen, that's a whole nother streamcast, what bands that you've seen live that were the best. Somebody asked me about that like not that long ago, and I think I said, well, Metallica I've seen twice live, and they were fantastic live. They have so many great songs. I don't really like any song they did after Master of Puppets. maybe the beast under your bed, in your closet, in your head. That song is Enter Sandman. That's kind of a cool song. We do it live, and it's fun to do the wah-wah solo. They have some good songs, but really Master of Puppets and stuff before that is killer. Rich, you saw Van Halen at Monsters of Rock at Giant Stadium. I think here's a story with that. Me and a couple of guys from high school had tickets to Monsters of Rock. I think it was Maiden and Priest and Van Halen. I forget. Was it Metallica? Had tickets, and then there was those riots or something. And then all the parents were like, we're not letting you go. We were like 16 at the time. So we weren't like allowed to go because there was riots. So people, they probably blew it out of proportion. So we couldn't go to Monsters of Rock, which, stinks because that would have been awesome. Those bands were in their prime. I wish I would have loved to see, like some people wish they were at Woodstock. I wish that I would have been at the 84 US Festival. I think it was 84. You had Van Halen, you had Quiet Riot, you had Triumph, that was the Rock Day. That was like the Woodstock for our generation, I think. And I still have the VHS tape and DVD of Van Halen at the US Festival, which is one of my favorite things. I used to put that videotape in and jam along with the whole 2-hour set on my guitar, the whole US Festival with Van Halen. And that's, that was my practicing. But Metallica I saw them in San Francisco, and I saw them, it's interesting, as I saw them early on the Injustice for All tour at the time it was Brendan Byrne Arena. They like to change the name of it like every week. Brendan Byrne, Continental Airlines, I don't even know what it's called now. But I saw a lot of great shows there. I saw Floyd there. That was a great show. Saw Rush there. That was a great show. Actually, I saw Floyd at Giant Stadium because Floyd needs Giant Stadium. They had the flying pig and the lasers and all that. Iron Maiden rides flipped burning cars in the parking lot for Giant Stadium. Yep. Yeah, I remember that. Were you one of the ones flipping cars, Rich? You ruined it for everybody. They ripped seats out. They flipped cars. That's crazy. People say this generation's out of hand. Jeez. There's a comedian, Doug Stanhope, who kind of jokes about how this generation, they're all about, like, they're vegan and they're very, like, even though they're liberal, they're kind of conservative in the sense that you can't say the wrong thing. It's almost like they flipped it on it used to be conservative was uptight and liberal was more free hippie-ish, but now the liberals are like you go far enough one direction, you come back because they're just as uptight about they're anti-vax. It's like, dude, you can't say a certain thing or they're offended, so they're basically conservative in just the opposite direction. And Doug Stanhope jokes around these kids today. Usually it was like every generation is like the new generation is more deviant, the new generation is out of hand, they're doing drugs, they're crazy and everything. And this is the first generation where they're so like uptight and I don't know what the word is, but but they're like pansies, to be politically incorrect. Whereas this is our generation is like, you guys are a bunch of pussies. You guys, you never did coke off a hooker's ass, in the 70s or whatever, but he has this whole bit about that. And it's hilarious because it's like, yeah, when we were in high school or college, we partied. And I wasn't that big of a partier compared to some of my friends that would smoke weed in the bathroom in high school or whatever. Didn't do that, but we definitely drank at parties at underage, and there was things I won't go into details, but we had fun. I remember getting drunk and peeing on my friend's car at a party at 3 a.m, and we did some stuff. And then in college you do that stuff, but this generation seems to be like, if you just say the wrong word, they're offended. And it's like they don't, So, I mean, I guess the thing that we did, we didn't really think about causes or global warming and things that much when we were in college that much. There was some of that stuff, but it was more like we're partying and fraternity parties and drinking. So this new generation is socially responsible, which I guess is a good thing. They're freaking out about global warming, which probably makes sense, and in political things and rape culture. Those are all good things, but sometimes it gets so out of hand where if you say one thing, it's like, somebody's banned because they said something that offended somebody, which is stupid. Obviously somebody like Harvey Weinstein should be, go to jail because what he did was illegal. I don't know, guys like Kevin Spacey. I was always a fan of Kevin Spacey, and I'm not sure exactly what he did. Supposedly he squeezed some guy's ass in the 80s. Okay, I don't know, but he didn't. If he didn't, Louis C.K. I mean, what he did, he spent. From what I hear, he asked some girls. They were in a room with him, and he said, "Hey, can I masturbate in front of you?" And then they didn't. They said, "Okay," and he did that. So that's two consenting adults. Freaky, weird, but why? I'm still gonna listen. It doesn't make me not want to think he's funny. So, and people are like, well, they were under pressure. It's like, dude, here's the thing. If a dude asks you, to whatever, do some weird thing in front of you, say no and be like, ew, dude, and leave the room. There was no physical threat or anything. He wasn't their boss. Yeah, maybe, because he's a famous comedian, they thought maybe he could do something for their career. So, I mean, that's their choice. Anyway. But he didn't say, I'm going to ruin your career if you don't let me do this. He just asked, and they could have said yes or no. So I don't think what he did was anything that's a big whoop. And anybody who is a Louis C.K. fan, he actually has a new comedy thing on his website, which you can download for like $6 or something. So that's worse. That's good. I haven't listened to it. I haven't had time. But I'm sure it's good because everything he's ever done has been hilarious. He's like the modern day Carlin. When can you... Rich is saying he's talking about Lodi and stuff. When could you hang out in Wright's Village and someone from the Misfits walks into like it's nothing? Yeah, we grew up a little different. Yeah, it's funny talking about the Misfits. So me and Rich, who's on the chat right now, we grew up in Lodi. So Lodi it's an interesting town. Very interesting mix of individuals. Definitely not politically correct. Definitely not. It was a combination of, if you watch The Sopranos, that's kind of how the people in Lodi talk. There was Guidos, but also burnouts, people with long hair, heavy metal. But we were always, there's definitely not a lot of political correctness. No, I wouldn't say there was racism much. I mean, yeah, just like today, you had a friend who would use an N word in a joke or something. But it was more just like, I don't know, very blue collar, middle class to lower middle class. Not a lot of pretension. Not a lot of rich people trying to be fancy. Just like you said, hanging out with I never hung out with the Misfits, but they were from Lodi, and they were a couple of years older than us. They went to Lodi High School, or at least Danzig did. I'm not sure if the rest of them were from Lodi. They might have been from Hackensack. But so I did actually. I posted a couple of Danzig songs in the last couple of weeks. Just we all get along. I get along with the Guidos, with the IROCs, as well as the Burnouts, with some Metallica. We used to take a boombox blast like Metallica, kill them all at the local fair at Felicia College. Hanging out at the carnival. Fun stuff, fun times. And then jamming in the garage with, Randy and Matt Foggi or whatever, playing Van Halen tunes. I mean, that was fun. I still talk to Joseph Bonatti. He's a corrections officer now. We chatting once in a while. And what was I going to say? I forget. Oh, but anyway, Lodi, there's also there's a lot of musicians come from Lodi. I was talking, Don Manzo, rest in peace. He was a guitar teacher from Rutherford, but he taught a lot of guys that went on to do pretty well-known bands in the area. Sometimes you could, like the guy from Lifespeed, Jim. He was a disciple of Manzo. We've been chatting, so we're like brothers in Manzo. But Don, he used to say there's so many musicians in that small town. Drummers, the Luna Brothers, and obviously me, the Fogies. It's just a ton of musicians that came out of that town. Glenn Danzig, just everybody. If you weren't a Guido or a Jock, you were playing in a band in a garage. That was just what we did, We hung out. I had the long hair, playing in the band. Everybody, playing Rush, playing Van Halen. I remember like Craig Sacco, played drums. I think he still plays drums. Porco, Lance Porco was a drummer. Randy Foggi was a drummer. A lot of people. It's a shame Lance Porco died a few years back. Probably only people from Lodi know. Well, probably a lot of people know Glenn Danzig because he's famous. Metallica covered his tunes, but and then there was also the singer for Rainbow was from Hackensack, which is like a few blocks from my house, with Joe Lynn Turner. And then there's a lot of musicians from Jersey. Whitney Houston was from Newark. I mean, the list is long. Obviously, Springsteen and Bon Jovi, and a lot of those hair metal bands like Sebastian Bach, Skid Row, guys from Jersey, and who else? Like I said, Joe Lynn Turner. Who am I thinking of? From Jersey City. There's a few acts from Jersey City. What's that group that did? Not the Commodores. Shoot, why do I know it? Now it's gonna bother me. The 70s band that has like a lot of hits. They're not the Commodores, not Earth, Wind and Fire. And it's gonna, and I can't think of it. They did. I'm gonna have to Google that. That song, Sunshine. They have so many hits. Jungle Boogie. Who does Jungle Boogie? I'm losing my memory. Kool and the Gang. Duh. Yeah, Trickster was from Paramus. Actually, it was funny. I have a little story. As things pop up here, I have stories. I knew this girl. I was at Rutgers, and another girl from the other Rutgers. We were hanging out. We were almost dating, but we didn't quite date because she lived far away. She was kind of cute, but I forget. I can't even remember her name. But she was good friends with Trickster. She actually was a main a regular at Studio One in Newark. So she was a regular there. She knew all the guys from all those bands, but she was friends with Trixter. And I remember chatting with her on the phone, and she's the one who told me that Trixter is working on a record deal before they ever put out a record. And then she's, oh, guess what? Trixter got signed. Trixter got signed. And this was obviously months before the record came out. And actually, I saw Trixter, now that I think about it. Who was it? Another guy from, I don't know if it was Lodi or Garf. I think it was from a friend of, I was dating this girl, Stephanie, or I wasn't dating her yet, but her boyfriend at the time was playing in a band with some of the guys from, I think one of the guys was from Lodi, and another guy, and he was from Garfield, the guitar player. What the hell was his name? We're friends on Facebook too. He still plays. He was a good player. But anyway, we saw his band. This girl, actually, they wound up breaking up, and I wound up dating her. This girl, Stephanie, who lives out in Arizona now, I think. But anyway, we went to see her boyfriend at the time's band, and they opened up for Trixter. And this was at the China Club in Jersey. I forget. I don't know if anybody remembers the China Club. That's no longer there, but it was, I forget. It was me and like three or four, four other girls and this girl. But we saw Trixter, and I didn't know who they were, but they were pretty good. MOD. Tim, I don't know Tim, but MOD. I remember. Let me listen to MOD. I remember listening to MOD and SOD. Yes, SOD was the guitar player from Anthrax and a bunch of other guys. I'm not sure where they're from, but the way they listen to how they talk, they sound like they're from. I think they're from Bronx or Brooklyn and New Jersey mixed. But what was I? Oh, Trixter Story. Yeah, I saw them at the China Club. I thought they had a good image. Their songs were kind of catchy. I wasn't really at the time. I was really into more. I wasn't into that was like hair metal, Skid Row-ish type stuff. And at the time, I was more into Maiden, Metallica, Rush, prog stuff. I wasn't, Steve Vai, Satriani. I wanted to hear a guitar player that could wail like Vai, Van Halen, and they were just doing pop tunes. They were good for what they were, but and probably still this day, I still think of the early metal stuff that we grew up on: Rush, AC/DC, Iron Maiden, and even the early stuff that was popular, like Quiet Riot and Def Leppard. That was a good period because it was catchy enough and well written enough that people who weren't into metal kind of dug it. Bang Your Head and Mental Health and Come On Feel the Noise. People, and the Twisted Sister stuff. It was heavy, but it wasn't off-putting to mainstream radio. So that got basically the Quiet Riot and Def Leppard were with songs like Photograph were the first bands that combined with MTV, combined with whatever Convergence of the Universe. Those bands made heavy metal not be an underground thing anymore. It was just like underground stuff that only metalheads listened to. And then once Mental Health came out, and once that Def Leppard came out, Pyromania, it was like on the radio. I remember first time hearing the Photograph guitar riff on the radio. I'm like, wow, cool guitar riff on the radio. Awesome. Like metal-ish. But then things got so much in that direction. I mean, Bon Jovi is cool, but it wasn't for someone that was coming from Maiden and AC/DC and Rush and stuff like that. It was a little more musical. That was kind of like watered down as far as we got Frank Scrow. We got Lodi in the house. We got Rich Dempsism. We got Frankie Scrow. Holy cow. And John Baldino was on the other day. So this is like a Lodi reunion here. We're just talking about the Misfits and Danzig and Trixter and local bands. We're just chatting music today with Lodi people and other people from not of New Jersey, but I have also people, because my music is kind of out there. I sometimes get people from France and stuff chiming in, which is cool. And I had someone from North Dakota on my live stream the other day. That's what's cool about this interweb thing. I got people that send me emails from other countries. Somebody from Canada sent me an email just the other day saying they dug my, the Red Flag song on my second album. So Anyway, like, definitely join in because today I'm not doing music. I'm just chatting. I was just testing the live streaming setup here. The video is shit because I'm getting a new video card Wednesday. But then for the Saturday live stream, hopefully I'll have it set up to do really nice 1080p video with good quality audio. And I'll be doing a full set of like 3, 4, maybe even 5 originals and then a bunch of covers. So message me with any requests that you want. Sometimes people are funny and they like to put weird requests in, like, I'm like, dude, I'm not doing that. But, even if I don't know the song, I'll probably do something from that artist. Because somebody asked for something from Skynyrd, and I'm like, I don't know that one, but I'll do Freebird, or one week I did Freebird, another week I did Sweet Home Alabama. I know a million tunes. Sometimes I know so many that I forgot, and then I try to pull it out of my ass, something I haven't done, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And if it doesn't, it's just as entertaining to hear the fuck ups. And I'm wondering if I'm allowed to swear on Twitch. Hey, guy. Because I think there's something on Twitch where you have to flick a button, say if it's adult content. So I'm not sure if the Twitch is a little stricter. I might not be allowed to swear on Twitch. And I'm simulcasting on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook because I'm like down with the modern technology. But what time is it? It's 10:40, guys. Well, you guys could be sleeping. Don't you guys work in the morning? No, I'm a night person. I'd do this to 3 in the morning if I could. But anyway, I'm starting to do more of this stuff. I'm not sure. I'm definitely going to do at least once or twice a week. Just doing music, just playing my songs and the covers with the electric guitar and the whole PA and track set up. And once the pandemic lifts, we'll have other musicians come down and do like a whole live thing. I was talking about with the girls from Lip Service. They might want to do something where before the pandemic, we had for the last 2 to 3 years, we were doing open mic every Thursday at Rockaway Riverborn in Rockaway. And we had all sorts of musicians from all over the state come down. Some well-known bands, would just come down and jam out with us. Well-known musicians from well-known bands, and Glenn Danzig never came down, but people from other local well-known bands would come jam with us, and we from that we've met so many, musicians from all the local bands. I can't even name all of them. But that was fun. We, every week we just have different people. Sometimes it would be a beginner guitar player that just bring his guitar and jam, and sometimes it would be a whole band that was semi-famous or whatever. Because a lot of the people that I hire for Lip Service, like Gary on drums, or or sometimes we have John DiGiulio on drums. These guys are heavy hitters, man. Like Gary he was just on TV with Gloria Gaynor. He tours with Gloria Gaynor. He tours with, I think he did Gary U.S. Bonds. He toured with. He still tours with Dion. If you ever see Dion in Atlantic City, that's Gary. And he's been on TV many times, like on Letterman and those shows with a lot of famous acts, the Drifters, the Duprees. And then also sometimes we played John DiGiulio, who was played on a record with Pink. He played with Paul Simon. The list is, sometimes it's, we're just having, a break between sets, and like John was like, oh yeah, I played with Pink, or I played with Paul Simon. I'm like, holy cow, I've known you for 15 years and I didn't know you played with Paul Simon. But these guys, that's what they do for a living, and it's cool when they pull you into one of their gigs. But anyway, these are great, a lot of good musicians, because the way it is with music is, you might get on some big tour and get $1,200, $1,500 a night doing something, or getting really good, or maybe we can do commercials or whatever. But that's hit and miss, You might be on tour for 3 months, and then what are you going to do for the rest of the 9 months? That 3 months ain't going to pay your rent for the whole year. Thanks for the webcasting. Helps with the boredom. Yeah, me too. Who else would I be talking to? Hey, guy. So even just talking is cool. Talking about music is fun. Maybe I'll just do a stream once a week, just chatting about music and different subjects, because I could talk about that all day. Dave was on before, and I don't know if he's still on or not, but we were talking about, I posted a video early of a band called Fanny. And most people have never heard of Fanny. They had like 2 top 40 hits. They were an American band back in 1971. So if you're from the 70s, you might remember them. I didn't, but they kind of reformed recently, and they're all older. But they started putting out videos of their old shows at the Beat Club and stuff in the UK, and this stuff was fantastic. They're like, if you like the Guess Who, it's like the all female the Guess Who, and these girls were around before the Runaways, before Heart, and they all kick ass. They kick ass singing. The drummer, the guitar player. It's like, 70s rock. They could hold their own with the Guess Who or any of those 60s, 70s groups. And check out, it's, if you want to just YouTube Fanny, or just I posted the video on my Dave Blair Band's YouTube page, not my personal page, but hey Randy Rocket. Sidemen who are really the best know their jobs, priceless. I agree. So we were just talking about that. I was just talking about that. So yeah, I hire a lot of sidemen on my records. I mean, at this point we're friends because I've been playing with some of these people for 15, 20 years. I met John. A lot of them I met them when they were coming up, like John DiGiulio, who played with Paul Simon and stuff. He was just not starting out, but he was in the, let's see, when did I start playing with him? Late 90s. And we did some college gigs. I was in a band that did the college circuit. He was always great. And then, it's like I was in other projects and different things and bands. And then I got into a band that we just needed. I was in one band for a few years that it was pretty much the same lineup. And then when I started, we kind of broke off and did another thing, which was the precursors of Lip Service. So Lip Service is the cover band that we play with. Some of you guys on here know, I've seen this many times. Picks up some new gear. Tell us all about the new gear. It's like gear porn, right? But Lip Service story is basically we were in a band that was run by the drummer and the keyboard player, and they were dating. So half of the shows they would pull up, they would be fighting at load-in with their boyfriend, girlfriend stuff, and it affected the band. Plus, they had a certain way of running the band with an iron fist, which we didn't always agree with. So myself, the bass player, and the two singers were, after rehearsal, were at the diner and said, "Hey, we were complaining about how they were running the band," and we were like, "Hey, Andrew, we were complaining about how they were running the band." I'm like, "Wait a minute, we got most of the band here. We got 4/6 of the band here. All we need is a drummer and a keyboard player, and we got a new band, and we could run it ourselves." So I was like, "You guys know how hard it is to start a band from scratch?" And they were like, "Come on, Dave." I'm like, "Okay." And what we wound up doing, we went through half a dozen drummers and keyboard players, and then we find out we realized if we have a core, then you could get session guys, and I have everybody has every band that does this has a list of fill-in guys, drummers, bass players, or whatever, because you need to be able to take the gig no matter what. So I have a list of like 6 drummers that I use. I have like 2 main ones that they alternate depending on who's available. And when you're dealing with somebody that's really good, like a Gary, he's always going off on tour and stuff. So he's not always available. So you can't be the rig, always there. So he gets like half of the gigs. And if he can't do one, I get Chris. And if he can't do one, I got John. And I can't, or Ron or whatever. And I also do projects with other bands where they're like, I remember when, hey, Andrew. So I remember one time Kathy Gargiulo, she was in a million different bands, but she calls me one day and says like, "My band broke up and we got a gig Saturday." This is like on Tuesday. Could you fill in, and you think you could put a band together? So I called up Ron Wilson, really good session drummer, plays with a lot of bands that you probably know if you're on the the local cover circuit. And I forget the bass player, but I forget who it was. But we pulled together the band to play at Smith's in Manhattan. I got band together on Wednesday, no rehearsal. We did a full show on Saturday. People loved it. We got booked back. But these are session guys, and I'd rather pay. Do you know Namagood? No. I know a lot of Jersey and New York guys that are, like the session guys and stuff that play on a lot of those bands. The 50 bands are from New Jersey, they're in New Jersey area. Drifters, the Duprees, Gary U.S. Bonds, Dion, Little Anthony, Johnny Maestro. I think Johnny Maestro died, right? But those guys have a circuit of musicians, and I know a lot of those guys that they always do these tours together and little shows at an NX City and festivals and stuff. And that's a lot of session guys. Um, um, yeah, and then there's Gloria Gaynor. I know a lot of people that have played. I know at least 4 or 5 people that played with Gloria Gaynor because she's from Jersey. So also P Funk, Donna from that we is on my record and plays with Lip Service. She played with George Clinton and Bernie Worrell. If you search for the Woodstock video with they were called the Woo Warriors, I think, on that show, which is basically Bernie Worrell from P Funk doing a lot of P Funk material and Woo Warriors material with Bernie from P Funk. He's the keyboard player that you hear on Flashlight. I wish we got to play with Bernie while he was alive because, Donnie played with him a lot. But there's a video with Donna on bass. She's wearing this crazy Dr. Seuss hat and a big white shirt. And it was Mike Moon was on guitar, who's also a friend of mine. We've played with on different things. He's been to my house and we've been hanging out and talking about guitars. But that's a cool show because that was at Woodstock and that was 80,000 people or something. And it's cool to see people that you've played with kind of playing at Woodstock in front of 80,000 people. And George Clinton came up and did a couple songs with them too. And I did see George Clinton at BB King's when that was still around. That was a good show. But anyway. What was I talking about? We're just off on a tangent. What's this? Howard Stern. You can just talk for hours if it's about music. I forget what was my point. Andrew is asking about David Grohl. Dave Grohl is cool. He's a cool dude. Actually, as people throw stuff out there, I'm like, I got a story about Dave Grohl. I do. So Ronan Chris Murphy, who is John Eddie. Yeah, he's local, right? I think he's from. I remember he was coming up seeing flyers for him in New York and stuff. But Dave Grohl's story. So Ronan Chris Murphy, who mixed my records, and we've been friends since early 2000s. Known him for over 10 years. Ronan, he's got a recording, teaches recording boot camps, recording outings, and he produces records for a living since the 90s. He was originally out of D.C., then he was in Seattle, then he was in L.A., now he's got a cabin. Anyway, her and me are friends, and I remember having dinner with him one night. I was in L.A., so I was like, because I'm in New Jersey, for you who know, but sometimes I'm out in L.A., and I try to get, if we meet up, we get grab dinner or something. So we were talking, and somehow Dave Grohl came up, and he knew Dave Grohl. They were in a band together called, I think it was the Babies or something like that, but he was in a band. And then Dave Grohl was also in that band, and they might not have even been in the band at the same time. But he knew Dave Grohl way back when in Washington. I think it was in Washington D.C. or maybe it was Seattle. I don't know. But he knew Dave Grohl, and when Dave Grohl and Nirvana first got famous, he remembers hanging out with Dave just as they got were getting famous, and they were hitting number one with the Nevermind record. And it was funny. He's like Dave is like the most down to earth guy. He's like. He's saying, hey, this is great that your record is doing well and you're touring major arenas. And he's like, hey, it's awesome. This is so great. And he's like, what, it's like, we were trying to figure out, well, what are you referring to specifically? He's like, when I'm on stage, I could hear my drums in the monitors, man. He's making millions of dollars and having number one record. And he was just excited that he was now finally playing in a place where he could hear his drums in his monitors. He wasn't caring about any of that other stuff. So that tells you something about Dave Grohl. He's just about the music, and he's a band guy that played in bands and played in the garage and just loved it. And you see him when he talks to people. He talks about, if you're a band, just that we were 3 guys just sucking. Playing in the garage, and we kept playing, and people liked it, and that was Nirvana. So there's some kids in a garage right now, and they might be the next thing. Just do it. But it's like if you're out there on this, in a stage or in your garage or whatever, and you're just playing your thing and having fun and just banging away on your drums or whatever, and you're loving it, you've already won. You've already won the game. It's not about being famous or having a hit record and making millions of dollars. It's about the music, and that's that's the important thing. So we forget that. And we all forget that because sometimes you're doing the grind of doing gigs at 2 in the morning and it's like, driving home at 3 in the morning after playing for 4 hours for little money. But it's like, it's got to be about the music. Like Gary's another good example. The drummer that's on the Red Flags video that we play with lip service with that all the time. Like I said, he's toured with famous people, but anytime we want to do a gig, he's down. He's down for it. Even if it doesn't pay a lot, even if it's a long drive, he just wants to play, So we get him on Thursday. He's touring or playing with famous people on Friday and Saturday, but the Thursday he's a little more open because it's not as busy a night. So he does like the Thursday open mics for us, and he drives like an hour to get there, and it's not a ton of money. And maybe some free pizza, and we'll buy him a margarita or something. But he's there with bells on. He's ready to play, and he's having fun, and he likes to he's like a kid. He wants to jam, he was on the live stream actually Saturday. Too bad he's not on here right now. He could tell some cool stories and stuff. But I'll just start an old Rush riff like La Villa Strangiata, and he'll come chime right in, and we'll and he's just we did the whole just me and him doing La Villa Strangiata just with drums, just for fun in the middle of an open mic, at a club. That's because we're just loving, the music. That's what it's about. And I forget my point, but yeah, Dave Grohl. That's what it's about. And I think that some of the music has gotten away from that. That's what I try to focus on. Three or 4 or 5 people in a room just playing. For real, no pitch correction, no loops, no samples, blah blah blah. Just real music because that's a niche that people are interested in because this stuff now is just so computery and pitch corrected. It's got no heart, And I think, and I don't think we're being an old fogey by saying, oh, the music today is terrible, and Yeah, when Elvis came around, people were like, he's not Sinatra. And then when the Beatles came around, they're like, they're not Elvis. They're long-haired hippies, and that's not music. So every generation kind of hates the previous thing. JK. I know, I've gotten all sorts of things who look like. When I had long hair, people would say that I looked like Axl Rose, at least when I was like younger. Because I do have the same Axl Rose hair. It's long and straight, and when it was like down to here, people were like, and then at one point when I had a certain haircut, people sometimes would say, what's his face? I won't back down. Tom Petty. So I've gotten Tom Petty. I've gotten Axl Rose when I had long hair. David Spade I get David Spade. When I had a haircut very similar to his, the funny thing is, one time I was in a CVS or something, and somebody comes up to me and do you look just like that comedian Dave Chappelle? And I know he meant David Spade because I look nothing like Dave Chappelle, obviously. But he said Dave Chappelle. He's like, you look just like Dave Chappelle. I said, I thought it was Dave Chappelle. And like, I didn't say anything, but, and another time we were in the airport with my sister, and, and my sister comes, was on the line, and I was someplace else. And he's like, Dave, I was just on the line, and the guy behind me on the line was like, hey, look, that's David Spade. He was going to come by for an autograph. So I guess at one point I was, I did have a haircut very similar to his, and depending on if I'm shaved or not. Andrew wants to know, any thoughts on the Axl Rose, Steve Mnuchin beef? Axl Rose has a beef with everybody. I'm trying to think. I think I read about that, but I don't even remember the specifics of it. If you want to remind me. Yeah. Let's see. Most people aren't aware that major artists have become the weekend giggers. It's true. It's crazy. There's a crazy business. I've been to a couple of seminars, and I say to people, myself, when I mentor or give classes and stuff, save your money. I don't care if you're having a million selling record. Save your money. It's kind of like, even if you do well and make big, it's like being an athlete. It's like being an NFL athlete. You only got a few years that you're going to make. Yeah, the guy makes a $5 million contract, and we're like, oh, lucky him. But that, after 3 years, or if he blows out his knee, that's got to last him the rest of his life. And if he spent that money and bought a $10 million house, guess what? He's in debt, So that, it sounds like a lot of money, but millions of dollars, depending on if you live on a lifestyle, if you're spending $2 million a year, and once you're out not making any money, you go from that to nothing. That $1 million has got to last you the rest of your life, and that's what, 50,000 a year for the next 20 years, not counting inflation. So you got to invest. That's what I do now. I tell musicians, you know, get a good job, stockpile all your money away. Don't buy any fancy stuff, so that you can, if you want, at some point quit your job and do music full time. Like, I actually thought about doing that last year, and right now I'm just kind of, saving, especially with the corona now and the stocks are all down. It's not a good time anyway. And I kind of, my job now is kind of fun and interesting. But if that changes, I could quit and just do music. But I'd be on a much tight budget, which is no fun. I've done that. I've done the just music thing for a couple of years, where I was doing gigs and teaching. And it's a double-edged sword, because obviously you got to keep a tight budget, and you got to like teaching. I like teaching certain people, certain students. There was like 1 or 2 students a day I would love to teach. I would look forward to them. They practice. And other times it was like babysitting. The parents brought them the lessons because they thought the kid should get lessons, but the kid didn't care. They wanted to, talk about wrestling or Spider-Man or something. And it's like, I tell the parent, why are you paying me? I don't want to take your money because the kid's not learning guitar. Here's another funny story. I was teaching voice, talking about Gloria Gaynor. I was teaching voice, and I taught Gloria Gaynor's cousin voice at one of the schools, Metropolis Music in Jersey City. So I taught. So that's a little bit, I guess, I don't know if doesn't really mean much, but it's because it was her cousin, and her cousin wasn't as good a singer as Gloria Gaynor, obviously. And I think I also taught her daughter as well. So Gloria Gaynor's cousin and niece or something. I taught vocals a little bit. But it's tricky to teach. You can need I taught I had one or two voice students that actually really did something with it and formed bands and did some big, did put out records and stuff, and used the training that I helped them with on guitar or vocals. But it's it's a tough thing. You gotta enjoy it. But I forget what I was talking about. Just doing music. I was actually talking about tours, concerts, the major artists on the weekends. Yeah, even major artists now these days they need multiple with the downloads and everything. You need multiple streams of income. Even if you're touring, you got to sell a ton of merch, a ton of T-shirts, and then when you're off tour, I mean, famous people are giving guitar lessons. Famous guitar players. You could get guitar lessons from Steve Vai or John Harrington or Keke King, and they charge you a little bit more. Obviously, there's a premium for getting taught by a famous person or whatever, but then sometimes they're playing. I know Trickster had a cover band for a while, but it's tough. Even if you're famous, I mean, you have your if you maintain your publishing, you could have a song that was a hit 20 years ago or 30 years ago and still get some royalties. I'm actually friends with I always call him Kamal, but people know him as Q-Tip. I've known him for years. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but he's a sweet guy. And I did know him for years. I remember hanging out in the Village with him, playing guitar, and he would be singing Steely Dan. He's a big fan of Steely Dan, actually. Because one time I was just jamming Steely Dan on the peg on the guitar, and he starts chiming in, "I got your picture." He's a good singer, actually. People don't realize that Q-Tip I've seen him sing Stevie Wonder. He's a good singer, just that he's pigeonholed for that, and it's been frustrating to him. And I'm like, dude, just put out a record what you're singing. Or, he feels that the label, he had fault with the label about that. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, Q-Tip would talk about his royalties. And he'd be like, hey, I got a royalty check. It came in. It's from Tribe Called Quest or something. So, that's how we get, those things are the gift that keeps on giving. and if you get stuff that's used in a commercial or something, you're that could pay your rent for a year. Anyway, 2 nephews are to retire from the NFL. Yep, tell them to save their money, invest. Now's a good a pretty good time I guess it's a pretty good time to invest. It's interesting how the market has gone down. It tanked a lot and it kept going down and everybody was scared, but then it came up and it's staying. Even though everything is still on lockdown and it's still the coronavirus and businesses are struggling, the market kind of went up. Yes, yeah. Tribe. And you didn't know I knew Q-Tip? Andrew's my brother. He didn't know I knew Q-Tip. Yeah. He's a super busy guy, so it's not like I would just call him up and be like, hey, dude, let's hang out. But, if let's put it this way, if he was across the street and he saw me walking, he would run over and be like, Dave, what's up? You know, he's a good guy, and we knew each other for a long time. It's been, I forget the last time it's been a few years before since I saw him. But he's funny. He's actually a funny guy. Because I was in the room and I didn't see him, and he comes up behind me and he did the tapping the other shoulder thing. You know, when someone taps you on your shoulder and you look and they're this side, Q-Tip did that to me. So that tells you a little about the type. He's a funny guy. He actually he's got a good sense of humor, and he's very very he's not your typical rapper by any stretch of the imagination. He's not into image or partying or bling. He's not even a fan of a lot of the rap scene. He prefers to listen to. I remember he's also a piano player too. I was hanging out one time and there's a piano in the room and he sits down and he just starts playing Dave Brubeck. Figures he starts playing Dave Brubeck, Take 5. He starts playing it. Jazz piano. So he can play jazz piano, he plays drums, he sings, and he's obviously a killer producer. And I don't know if you guys got the last Tribe record. I know he was upset because it didn't win a Grammy, and it was like, with Phife Dawg dying and everything, he almost had problems with diabetes and stuff, and didn't take care of himself. But he was. I know that he was upset that they did not get a Grammy, not for himself, but he thought that was that was their final big record before Phife died, and it was politically. Good. And it's a good record, definitely. I really love that song. I forget the name of the songs. It's been a while since I listened to that record, but it has that. Shoot, I can't off the top of my head. But pick up. Well, Vibrant Thing is an older song, so that was off the Amplified record. So he had Vibrant Thing and Breathe and Stop were his two solo hits after Tribe Called Quest, and Tribe had its own set of hits. But then they had the Tribe reunion record. I think they knew Phife was sick, and so they did this record with him. He had some guest rappers on. Obviously, Busta Rhymes was on there. Busta Rhymes was mentored by Kamal, and so they've always done stuff together. He's collaborated with a lot of people. There's a lot of little things out there of him collaborating with artists you wouldn't have expected, because he's all about the music. What was I gonna say? But anyway, yeah, for that last Tribe record, which was they did a live show after Phife died with Busta Rhymes on Saturday Night Live, that was pretty cool. They had a big banner with Phife Dawg. When his part came on, I think he had his part pre-recorded and had it piped in with his picture on the background. But anyway, that was good stuff. I respect and like Kamal. I call him Kamal because I never called him Q-Tip. That's his name, Kamal Farid, I think is his last name. And just totally cool guy. And when I first met him, I didn't even know his music, I knew he was a rapper, and I'd heard of Q-Tip. That's about it. But I met him, and then we kind of knew each other for years. And then I went after I met, knew him for a couple months. I actually went out and bought his records, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. Yeah, he's a funny guy. Yeah, we used to joke and stuff about different things, and he even critiqued my rap. At one time, he taught me a couple of things about rapping because I remember time I was doing a rap of somebody, and he critiqued. He's like, that was really good because if people have seen my shows, I rap things like Sean Paul, Pitbull, and stuff like that. And I was just learning this one new rap that was kind of tricky. And he was he gave me some advice about my cadence and the phrasing, which it was helpful because it affects. He was like, Dave, you notice in a lot of the pop tunes, Beyonce and stuff, all the cadences that came from rap, that originally came from people who weren't singing. The phrasing is very complex and rhythmic, and it's like you're almost playing a rhythm instrument with your voice. He explained it, and now that's bled into all the pop music. So Beyonce, nobody phrased their stuff with those complex, in the old days, whether it was Sam Cooke or Stevie Wonder, it's da da da, these phrased melodies and legato, and now it's a lot more. But a lot of broken up phrases and just more complicated rhythm patterns that comes from hip hop, and it's even going into country now. All the country stuff is basically hip hop as far as the phrasing. So you got to hand it to even people who don't like rap. A lot of people don't like rap because of for different reasons. There's not instruments in it a lot of time, or it's just looping. It's like samples, and I agree with a lot of that, but there's definitely some talent there. And look, if you listen to the Tribe records, or you listen to Tupac, or listen to Biggie, or if you listen to even Run DMC, they changed the face of music in the way every other genre, from country to rock, the way things are phrased. And it's funny because the first rap record was that Walk This Way. But if you listen to Walk This Way, and even if you listen to some of the AC/DC stuff like Back in Black, the phrasings and the rhymings, it's like rap. So there's more in common than you'd think between these different genres. But even in my music, if you listen to the second record, which is probably after Kamal explained that to me, maybe that was an influence. There's songs like Red Flags and Gonna Do. I was specifically thinking about more complicated or more complex rhythmic patterns in the vocal, because I thought that made it more interesting, and I think it does make it more interesting, depending on the song. There's still great songs that are like Journey or whatever, where it's more flowing phrasing, Beastie Boys, yeah. But if you listen to, the phrasing on Red Flags, it's you think it's there's a rhythm in the vocal. It's less about the melody in that part, and then it comes into the chorus, which is a little more of a melody. Da 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 da. But as a songwriter, and at some point I'll probably do podcasts or whatever you call these things, about just get in a bunch of songwriters on, and we'll talk songwriting. Well, I'm too tired to do. Saturday I'm going to do a live stream, and now I'm ready for dinner and sleep. Praising in Nashville was something I drove. Yep. So I've been to a lot of the songwriting seminars. Jason Bloom, Jai Josephs, and a lot of them. And I read. It's funny. One of my teachers has a student that is also a good singer. She's telling me about. She's a good singer. The songs are all right, but there's not a melody. We were talking about what was lacking in making the songs like really stick. And I was like, well, songwriting is a craft, man. I'm like, I gave her a book. I'm like, read the Jason Bloom book, first of all, cover to cover. It's called The Vlog thing. This interweb thing. But I was like, I've taught songwriting to people, and people have gone on to write, good songs. I think, but I see and I've read. If you go on my Dave Blair Music, there's a blog. With some articles about songwriting, about choruses, about string. There's so much stuff, but it's a skill. It's a craft to be able to write songs well. And just so many people just like they could sing and they could play well, and then they just think that just by putting something onto paper and that they felt emotional about it. Well, Jason Bloom used to say, just because you felt something when you write it, I don't care what you felt when you wrote it. I care what I feel when I listen to it. And where lies the craft of songwriting. Can you translate that emotion? And part of that's phrasing, part of that's melody, part of that's song structure. You're telling a story, just like, if you're writing a novel, if you're writing a screenplay, there's a certain structure and you have to do things in a certain way. Or if you break it up, if you're like, if you are Quentin Tarantino and you're going to tell the story out of order, or you're going to do a twist on M. Night Shyamalan, however you say his name, and where you hide a critical piece that to the end where it changes the meaning of the whole movie. You're doing that on purpose. Story structure, and you're purposely messing with it for a specific effect. He didn't do that on accident. It's so if you're going to change your phrasing in a song, or change your arrangement, you're doing it for a reason. Like Tool, good example. They'd throw all the rules out, but if you listen to the early records, they had a verse, a chorus, a bridge, on the first couple of records, and then they just started taking it, stretching it and doing it. And now it's like 15 minutes and they don't repeat a melody, but it's awesome because what they're doing is they're still keeping your interest. They're doing something completely different. They're taking you on a journey, and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. That new record for Tool, I listened to many. I just the first one it first came out. So perfect. Yeah, exactly. Recrafting is the key. So Jason Blum would say, great songs aren't written. Great songs are rewritten. So you could, and I do that. The way I write a song is I'll throw it into Logic. I'll start out with a melody and a phrasing. Maybe some words are usually vowel shapes, and that's how Billy Joel does it. He talks about vowel movements. Just certain vowels sound good with certain phrases, so you start with, I know I'm gonna hunt the bada, and that with some chords. What I try to do, and this is a rule I kind of push on myself when I'm demoing something, I won't let myself use more than 3 tracks. So a drum track, a guitar track, and a vocal. And I will not produce that song at all until I get that sounding like good. Like I could put that in a CD in the car and be like, yeah, that's a good, because if the melody is good, you need the drums to figure out what your groove is going to be. And then, you need a chordal instrument to know what the chord changes are going to be to dictate your melody. But, if the melody and the phrasing is good, if that's good, even if I don't have the words worked out, I might have vowel movements, I'll do that, and then I'll figure out the words later. And I'm people say I'm pretty good with lyrics, but I'll usually come up with the lyrics later. Because to me, I have songs that started with lyrics. Don't get me wrong, Sun and Rain kind of started with lyrics, but for the most part, I think to take words and foist upon them a melody and phrasing to fit those words is not as musical, because you're forced you wrote these words because you felt something in your head or whatever, your emotion, right? So then you're going to somehow force that word. Of course, you're going to change the wordings and move things around, but you're forcing that onto, a phrase, which is fine. You could do that, and it's successfully. But I think, for me, the melody and the phrasing works, especially in rock music. In country, the lyrics are more important. Country, you're telling a story. You could have 10 country songs. They're almost the same melody, the same chord changes, but they mean different things. A George Jones tune or a Johnny Cash tune. They're telling a story. So that's a more of a, but aside from country and rock, the Beatles. It's Obladi Ablada, and I Am the Walrus. Who's that knocking at the door? Who's that knocking at your door? Someone's ringing the bell. Someone's knocking at the door. Someone's ringing the bell. Open the door and let him in. That's the genius lyric there, right? Some of the Beatles tunes, the lyrics were, John Lennon looking at a poster, and just that's the lyrics to the tune. But it's more so in that case, it's more about the melody, and the in some cases the production, the strings, and the cool experimental things they did. But anyway, so for me, I think If the melody and phrasing is there, your song's done. Then everything else is just gravy. If I get a good phrasing, good melody, then you just got to need musicians that could take that, because that's your song. People don't realize that's your song. It's not. People get so caught up in, I got a producer. I paid this producer $100,000 to make me a track because they work with Timbaland. Who gives a shit about the track? You know, I mean, I'm old school. These days, all these things it's about. They produce a track and they try to find a pretty singer to sing to the track. Like, dude, write a good song. Write a good, still about the song, I think. This track, you know, these beats there. I make beats. I make tracks. I'm like, I don't know, write a song. And then if you write a great song, you could do a heavy metal version of the song, or the country version of the song, or a hip hop version of the song, you know, and change the beat and make it, you know, a good song is a good song. You know, it's got a good phrasing, it's got a good melody to tell a story, it's got a good lyrics. So for me, when I'm writing, I come up with a cool idea that I really dig this melody. This is something I'm going to like to sing at a show or something. And then the fun part, once that's the hard part, because it kicks inspiration and you're carving it out and you say, you know, you play that bembo back and you say, oh, I really like it, but then that third line, it's falling flat. And then you try to play with the melody. Or there was one song, I forget what song it was, but I had like a verse that went on for like 6 lines and then the chorus. And I'm like, it's just falling flat before the chorus. It's just, you know, it comes out good, comes out strong. And then it just, for a while I was fighting with it. I'm like, I got to get those last 2 lines of the verse better so they lead into the chorus. And then I'm like, a light bulb went off. I'm like, do I really need those 2 lines? So I just, in Pro Tools, deleted those 2 lines, shortened it from the, you know, the 6 lines into 4 lines, played it back. I'm like, nailed it. So sometimes it's about just, you know, do you need it? There's a saying in when they're writing books and screenplays and movies, and when they're editing movies, sometimes you see the deleted scenes. I'm like, that's a great scene. But the director, whoever edited it, will be like, yeah, but it wasn't important to the story. So it was just, you know, and then you gotta, I forget who it was. There's a famous author that says, as to be a great author, you have to kill your children. Meaning, you might have a character in your book that was just the best character. You love the character, you love the characteristics, the personality. You came with this character, but it doesn't serve the story of the book, so you kill it, and that hurts you. But it makes for the better book. It makes for the better story, the model, and that's, you know, it's got to serve the story. Same thing with the song. You know, I see people with run-on lyrics, and they're trying to tell their life story. I'm like, dude, that's 5 songs. Make 5 songs. That's a whole concept album you're trying to say in one verse. You know. And a lot of these young songwriters, they get, you know, they think they get a little artsy fartsy prima donna ish, like, well, it's the song that I wrote, and it's my heart and my soul in this, and like, so what? Like the verse, you know, you need to tweak the verse so it falls into the chorus, or else nobody's gonna want to hear your wonderful song, you know. But that's a whole other thing. There's books on it. It's a craft. And it's a fight. I have to always bang into these kids' heads when I'm teaching them stuff about, you know, writing. Is like the rewriting part. They just have a hang up, or delusion that if you do that, you're getting formulaic. And I hate formulaic stuff. Formula songs. If you're doing it right, it doesn't sound like a formula. Some songs, it's like, obviously that was a team of people that were writing to a formula. But yeah, good point. But knowing it's not rules and it's not formulas that you got to know. It's knowing the different strategies that are used to get different effects, and then using them when and where you will. If you want to create a lot of tension and weirdness, you could go off, you know. And I studied. I mean, learned this stuff in studying classical music. I mean, we were taught about Bach and Mozart and Stravinsky, you know, Beethoven, Stravinsky. And one thing that always stuck with me is Stravinsky, if you know, he did polytonal stuff. He did polyrhythmic things. He did things where it just, if you listen, just YouTube, Rite of Spring or the Fireboard Suite, and that stuff is, for the time, was just crazy. That stuff I did. Actually, I have a blog article that talks about the history of music. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but it is accurate, and it's kind of funny. I talk about Beethoven and Strauss and how they affected each other. But basically, Stravinsky had, you know, if you notice, his pieces are shorter. but less repetitive. He understood Bach very well, and Bach was very structured in his phrasing, very, you know, and yeah. So Stravinsky, he was playing with harmony and melody. He was playing 12-tone scales. He was playing polyrhythms, E flat chord over E major, chords, dun 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 dun, polyrhythms. So it was like, wait a minute, all this stuff that makes the ear very hard to fall into. It's things that you would think would be anti liking a song or music, but if you listen to a lot of stuff, he did a lot of structure. One, he kept things shorter. He didn't do 40-minute pieces, where it did that. Those pieces were, I don't know how long, Rite of Spring is, it's like 15 minutes long or something. Whereas like the Fifth Symphony is much longer, or Wagner's stuff is like 4 hours. But if you listen to some of his piano pieces that are polytonal, I mean, in serialistic. In other words, the 12 tone, the harmonies, and the harmonies are wacky. A lot of dissonances in Stravinsky's piano pieces, but the rhythmic patterns are right out of Bach. So it's very structured that way. He knew that. Here's the rule that they teach you in music school. Everything is a balance between tension and resolution. Everything is a balance between novelty and comfort. And if something is too repetitive, it sounds like a children's song. I love you, you love me, I'm a happy family. People will get bored with it. It's a children's song. It's stupid. It's too repetitive, or it's boring. On the other end of the spectrum, if it's just crazy stuff like Schoenberg and like serialistic, where it's just crazy notes, it sounds like noise. It sounds like a cat running across your keyboard. It sounds random. There's nothing, right? If a cat runs across your keyboard, you just hit random notes on the keyboard. It sounds just random, and doesn't sound like music. And so the human brain and the human ear likes comfort, likes to hear a melody, but at the same time it likes novelty, and you got to balance. Just like when you're watching a movie, if it's all over the place and it's shaky cam and it's all over it and you can't follow the story, it's like you turn the channel, because it's like, I can't even follow this. I don't know what he was talking about, this, and now the scene is here, and right. But at the same time, if it's just like two people eating lunch for 15 minutes in the beginning of the movie, you turn that off too, because it's like you're bored, right? So where's you want to make it comfortable where they could follow the story. It's leading them, but leading them at a pace where it's not erratic. And that's what you're doing when you're doing songwriting. You're trying to just drag people in, bring them from point A to point B in a way that it's interesting and novel enough. But before it gets boring, you kind of take them someplace else, and then you bring them back. It's really not rocket fucking science, But so that's what it really comes down to: balancing novelty and what was that? Novelty versus comfort, or whatever word you want to use, and then also dissonance or tension and resolution, which kind of goes hand in hand and use tension. If something is tense, a lot of weird chords, just like in blues, you play a flat 5 for a split second, it creates tension, then you slide it and you resolve it. That's much more interesting than just landing on that 5 note right off the bat. So anyway, if anybody wants to do songwriting, pick up that Jason Blum book. I think it's really 6 Steps to Songwriting or something like that. And I know Jason Blum is he's a cool cat. I say the cat jokingly because we're friends on Facebook, and he adopts Jason Blum, by the way. He's a songwriter, and he's had hits. You probably never heard of him, but Jason Blum has written hit songs for Britney Spears, Backstreet Boys. His name is on the creds for about 500,000 sold records. So he's written some hit songs. Now, you might not like Britney Spears. I'm not a fan of Britney Spears or Backstreet Boys, and I don't want to write songs like that. Don't matter. It's the song structure. Those songs are hits. People want to hear those songs because of the structure. I'm going to apply my rock attitude to the songs. I'm going to apply my idea of phrasing and melody. So it's not going to, nothing. Yeah, I could use all his techniques in his book and not sound anything like Britney Spears. That's just the genre that he happened to, write songs for. He's also written rock stuff, which he showed me some of that stuff, which is kind of cool. But anyway, Jason Blum, a little bit about him. if you befriend him on Facebook, he adopts kittens. He fosters kittens. So what he does is he'll adopt the kittens when they're too young to be kind of given out to families. He helps raise them for the first few weeks, and then at that point they're ready to be adopted. Sometimes he winds up keeping the kittens. Whatever. But he every day he posts pictures, videos of these kittens with him narrating, and he's a good speaker. He did seminars at ASCAP in Nashville and stuff about songwriting. And if you get a chance to see him, he's funny, he's educational. You'll walk away having a better understanding of songwriting. And he hammers home the point, but he's also freaking funny. He's really good at speaking. But he does these funny cat videos where he says, "The cat today is learning to mop the floor," and the cat will be sitting on a mop on the. He makes it funny. I always watch him because it's just these cats are adorable because they're like 6 weeks old. Everybody loves that's a universal. Everybody loves kittens. I think I should just do a rock video with just kittens, because that'll probably be like a big hit. But anyway, I think I gotta go because I haven't eaten dinner and I gotta go to sleep and then I got up early. But I think this worked. This is just the first time me doing like it's talking kind of thing. So I'm gonna do live music on 9:30 on Saturday. Once I get the new sound card, it's the Sony camera, the A6500, doing the video, doing the audio through my professional studio. I'll probably just do one mic. I'll still probably just do it live with the PA, but have a good mic, so it's much clearer than the phone. And then later on, I'll work where I'll mix a vocal mic and a guitar mic and a track mic, and go through Logic and go through and one step at a time. That's one thing I've learned because I think 10 steps ahead. And I'm thinking, and I was actually helping someone out they were doing some similar types of things, trying to get their music. True. Yeah, agree. Way diplomatic. Yeah, that's what. Talking about diplomatic, I know Randy. He just produces some stuff. He produces records and stuff. So I've talked. One thing this always comes up. Because every time I produce somebody or mix somebody or record, I've done a lot of singers because I'm known as the singer guy because I had vocal training. So I'm good at working with singers because I'm a singer too, and I really. People come out of the studio saying, "Wow, that was the best vocal I ever did," and you really helped me understand how to, do it. But one thing I found, and this happens even, I've worked with bass players who've toured nationally or whatever. What you are as a producer, and I've had this conversation with famous producers that work with Christina Aguilera and stuff like that at seminars and classes and stuff, and the common denominator is they're always saying, our job, 90% of our job is we're the piece, we're the psychologist for the singer, or in some cases the bass player, guitar player, because it's really just getting them to give their best performance. After that, it's just throwing a mic in front of them. All the other stuff, having the $1,000, $2,000 mic or preamp. If I have Aretha Franklin and a $75 mic, I'm good. You can mix that with a rubber band and a shoebox. It's about the performance, and then it's up to us just not to screw it up. And Ronan taught me that. But anyway, I need to eat lunch, and everybody's peacing out. We got some people watching, but I got to eat. So this is kind of the mode with Twitch, though, because Twitch is like people are on there 3-4 hours at a time just talking. And I'm like, if you want to hear me talk, fine. And it's good when people interact. So we had some nice interactions. This is the first time I'm doing this. And this is kind of fun. And then I'll do real music on Saturday. And then maybe we'll talk about it during the week when I'm too tired to sing. But anyway, let's see you guys. Thanks for joining, man. And then definitely join Saturday because I'll be doing some songs for real, which is even better than me talking, hopefully. Much more entertaining, I think. Peace out.